Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Lin Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. In this episode today, this is going to be a very, very big milestone for Sensual Being because I have got on my first interview guest. And not only that, this is an interview guest I didn't think was ever going to say yes to come onto this podcast, but she actually suggested it to me yesterday. So I jumped at the chance to have my mum, who I have mentioned so many times. She has made so many gifts to give out at my events, and she is honestly one of the most inspirational people that I know. Her name is Lin Whiting, and she is joining me today. She is going to be sharing her very, very potent story about how she has given up drinking. And I would like to really emphasize the point that she gave up not really thinking she had a problem until it became a problem. She was never someone that needed to be checked into rehab or something like that. And I think this is where a lot of us can relate to her story, because a lot of us think that because we're not at rock bottom, that maybe we don't need to give up something. But actually, these problems can creep in and take us by surprise. And I'm going to be honest with you, it took me by surprise too. So I'm really, really proud to have my mum here today. So I would like to welcome my very special guest, my own mum, who I've mentioned so many times on this podcast. This is my mum, Lin. Welcome, Lin.
Hello, Jolene.
You're going to call me Jo, aren't you?
I try not to.
Yeah, she probably called me Jo. Welcome. This one is all my mum's idea, and it really fits in with the theme of dry January, but we want to take that one step further because my mum has recently given up drinking, and she has a very interesting story behind it, and one a lot of us can actually relate to. So Mum, would you like to tell us first how old you are, or how young you are? Let's go with that. How young you are.
I'm 74.
Wow. And you've just given up drinking.
Yes,
This
4
is
months.
4 months. Congratulations. This is
Thank
amazing. Now, would you have said that you were actually, did you have a problem before?
I didn't think I had a problem. Only now I've given up. I look back, and yes, I was an alcoholic. But up to recently, I felt I was in control of my drinking.
Yeah. And now, interestingly, I see my mum like every day. So I knew that she drank. She wasn't a drunk, but I knew that she drank. And there is a difference, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that just because you seem to think you don't have a problem, that you should think that actually I'm okay, I'll just keep going. And this is why I wanted to share her story with you, because like she said, she never really felt like she had an issue. So what was the deal breaker? What drew the line for you that you thought, I've got to do something about this?
About a year ago, my legs packed up. They became very heavy, and it was difficult to walk one day. And I realised I had a problem. And over the next few days, I went without a drink of an evening, and the next day my legs were instantly better. And after about 2 dry nights, I realised I had to do something. And so I made an effort to give up. I have tried before to give up.
Yeah.
I gave up for 3 years, back in the 90s. But since then, I've just enjoyed drinking. I didn't feel I needed a problem to make me drink. I could afford a drink whenever I wanted. And it's easy when you're living on your own. There's nobody there to say, you've had enough.
No, I think you said to me before that my dad, he would say, didn't he?
Yeah.
He'd say, well, you, come on.
Yeah.
It was always, I mean, to be fair, when I grew up, I knew my mum and dad enjoyed sharing a drink together, but they never got they never got drunk around me. I never grew up in that sort of environment, but I remember Dad saying, come on, right, it's bedtime, let's go, you know.
Well, Dad had a responsible job and he didn't really drink like I enjoyed a drink. So he kept his tabs on me.
Yeah, in a nice way. What was your background like of growing up with that?
Well, my dad was a heavy drinker, and it was acceptable back in the 60s. Having a drink and smoking was the norm. In those days, I drank gin, but later on I turned to wine. I had more control on wine. Yeah.
So you say that you've tried giving up in the past, and what has helped you give up this time? Apart from the pressing health issue with the legs, what did you find actually helped you give up? Was it any words from people? Was it changing habits? Did you replace your drinking habits with different habits, like eating something different, or just anything like that helped you?
No, I would go 3 or 4 nights without a drink. And at the beginning, I thought, wow, I've been good. I'll treat myself.
Yeah.
And then over a period of time, it went into 10 days. And then, well, I deserve a drink. And so I would start all over again. I wasn't disappointed in myself. I just thought, I'll have the drink, start again. And I stayed positive. In August, I managed to go 22 days. And I was so proud of myself. Again, I rewarded myself. And then after that, I stayed off the drink. And suddenly, the word alcohol became the word poison in my brain. And I had no desire to ever have another glass of wine. It was, to me, it was like drinking vinegar if I did. And I've been fortunate ever since. I've had no cravings. I'm just so pleased.
Me too. It's almost like literally a switch just flicked in your head, and just overnight you just like, no, I that's it. No, I don't want any more.
Yes.
It's just...
Yes. And I tested myself. I went to a big supermarket and I walked down the alcohol aisle and I wasn't fazed by it. And I walked out of the store and I was just so happy.
Yeah.
That was the turning point for me. The problem before was having to go shopping to buy food and try and avoid the alcohol aisle. But you go into a big store these days, the bottles are facing you as you walk in. They are dotted everywhere.
Yeah. I remember at Christmas, I even commented to my partner to say that there is drink down the end of every aisle. So, you know, like the specials at the end of each aisle, they're all down there. Yeah. They're everywhere. So if you were trying to like cut back, be mindful of anything, or even if you had worse problem, it's everywhere. Everywhere. And it makes you wonder as well, you know, when you were saying about the rewarding, I thought you hit the nail on the head there, because we reward ourselves with rubbish.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, congratulations, open the champagne, or here's a birthday cake.
Yes.
You know, oh, sweets because you've been really good.
Yes.
You know, and it's like this, every occasion, every celebration has got some sort of drink or treat. And when we say treat, it's not even good for you, is it? You know, it's not here's a reward, here's a banana. It's like here's a reward, here's a cake. And here's, like I said, champagne, or let's go out Friday night, let's have some beers and have a great time. It's like we've been so conditioned that drink equals good.
And also, when you go shopping, you think to buy one bottle of wine, but you get an offer. You buy 6 bottles, you get 25% off. Who can keep 6 bottles of wine in the fridge till Christmas?
Now you
in
can.
November.
Yeah, no, maybe now, but not if you're getting them to actually drink them. Then you're not going to be like, no one's going to do that, are they? No one is. And this is why it's such a slippery slope, and we need to be so mindful about it. And it's interesting because how did people react when you told them about this? Because you told me there was a few people that you told, and oddly, they all had the same response. So who was some of the people that you told?
What, that I had given up drinking?
Yeah.
A medical person. And I was so proud. I said, I've given up drinking, as I walked in. And I just got this look. No response at all. And even friends, I've given up drinking. And there's just no response.
And that, to me, shows just how scary this world is, because particularly from the medical professional, you'd think that they would say something good, like supportive. And it seems to be the only time I feel like you would have got a real pat on the back is if you were literally a full-on drunk and you've gone into rehab. And I'm not saying those people shouldn't get a pat on the back too, because they damn right should. But the social conditioning around drinking is one that a lot of people choose to ignore. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, well, I have the odd drink, we are not here to try and demonize you at all. Not at all. Because a lot of you know who follow this podcast that I actually gave up drinking in, oh my God, 2 years ago this month. 2 years ago this month. But I wouldn't have said that I had a problem or anything, but I feel so much better since. And the thing is, when I've told people, I get this kind of blank stare, and they're like, yeah, but so what? You didn't have a problem, so who cares kind of feel. And I think it's linked in with the fact of people do still want to have the odd drink, and they think, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, I'm not here to tell you it's not okay. I'm just here to tell you that when somebody tells you they've given up drink, it doesn't matter who they are, how big you perceive their problem to have been. This is a big deal because of the conditioning that's around it. This is why this story is so important. And as you know, I do feel like when we share our stories, we end up learning so much more from each other. And I've learned so much from my mum, and this podcast wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
I do remember occasions when you've come round and I've opened the door and said, oh, Jo, I've had a drink.
It's like, warning.
But you've not said anything. You've just gone along.
Yeah.
Hopefully I behaved myself.
Well, there have been incidents when I've bought a really nice cupcake for her, and then she's like, oh, that's lovely of you. And then she's woken up the next day wondering where it went and realising that she ate it without remembering.
I remember you saying, that's the last time I bring you a cake.
Yeah, I did say that. Although I didn't stick to that, did I? I have certainly brought other ones round since.
I do remember going to the supermarket and getting several days' supply. Bearing in mind I drank bottle and a half a night. So it was a few bottles I'd buy, and I'd get to the checkout, and the lady would say, "Oh, we having a party?" And I'd go along with it. "Oh, yes, on Saturday." And I'd walk out feeling so guilty. I just don't know why, but I did.
Yeah, the judgment from other people, it's very snap judgments. And you could say on one part, you shouldn't have taken it on, you shouldn't have let that get to you. But at the end of the day, it's a slippery slope. When we know that someone's got that sort of judgment, it makes you wonder, well, is this a bad thing? Have I got too much? This is my problem. It's all my fault. And you start to go down that sort of route. And it's really hard not to take it on, particularly when it's a sensitive subject.
And even going to the bottle bank with all the bottles. The clatter of all the bottles, and you feel the whole world can hear you putting these empty bottles. I dreaded going to the bottle bank. And when I look back now, not drinking now, how my life has changed. The freedom, no guilt attached to my life anymore. And I can remember more now.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning, I can remember a phone call from the previous night. I can remember Jolene coming round, seeing me.
Bringing a cupcake. What's your energy feeling like and your body feeling like now?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. My legs are getting better. I don't feel any guilt anymore. And money-wise, I'm surprised how much I have left at the end of the month.
See, now that's a scary one, isn't it? When you actually see the physical money that's left.
I know. I sat down one evening and I counted how many days I had not been drinking. And in my mind, I lined up all these bottles and I thought, would I have got through all these bottles in just a few weeks? And that was scary to think how much I've put my body through all these years.
Yeah.
And I wish I could put the clock back now.
It's really difficult. I strongly believe in divine timing. These things happen at the right time. I mean, you've even said that you tried to give up before and you didn't manage to do it. And yet somehow a switch just flicked and that was it.
But each time I gave up for just 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And went back for a couple of sessions. I started again. I didn't look back and, I just started again. I thought, right, fresh start. Yeah. It took several goes. But I wasn't disappointed each time I went back. I thought, no, I'll start again. Yeah. And my trouble was that I didn't then go out and just buy a bottle because I needed a bottle and a half a night. So I had to buy 3 bottles because come the second night, I would have half a bottle left if I bought 2 bottles. And that was worse than not having any wine at all. Yeah. So I made sure I had enough for 2 days, not 1 day.
It's all that kind of constant planning ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. But after those 2 days, I was ready to start again.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well because you said before, you could go a few days without it and it wasn't an issue. So my mum often looks after my little dog Pumpkin and she never had a drink when she was looking after him. And I think this is where we can think that it's not a problem because we can go a certain amount of time without having the drink. And I also think it's when we place emphasis on, I need a drink because I'm going out. I need a drink because it's Christmas. I need a drink because it's the weekend. And I think when we start putting that emphasis on it, oh yeah, we can go a couple of weeks without a drink, but now it's my birthday, I have to have a drink. And it's when we realize there's a pairing of drink with an occasion or a feeling or an activity, that is actually an issue. And if any of you feels this, I would strongly recommend that you actually just try and do whatever it is, a social event or watching a show or going to a concert or whatever it is. If you're like, oh, I need a drink because I'm here, try not. Because if you can't, then I think there's some more questions you might need to actually ask yourself.
There's been times when Jolene's gone away and I've had pumpkin for 4, 5 nights. I've not had one drink during that time. I haven't even craved a drink. And also, if I'm driving, I don't even have one drink. It's amazing that I can switch off when I have to.
Yeah. So again, this is why it's so relatable, because a lot of people will think, oh, you have to be an alcoholic to give up drinking. And I think there's many levels of alcoholism and addiction. So the fact that you were saying that you could switch off for like, 4 days, I've got stuff to do, or I need to go drive, and that's fine. You weren't like, oh my God, I just need to get home because I need to have a drink. It wasn't that. You were able to actually switch it off. And I think that's what makes it even longer continuing drinking before actually recognizing that you do actually need to give it up. Because if you can switch it off, I mean, I remember you telling me actually about when you were pregnant with my brother. He's older than me, not wiser, obviously, just older. If you're listening, Phil, still love you.
So do I.
Yeah, you have to say that, Mum. But yeah, I remember you saying that you changed when you got pregnant with him.
Yes, I was a 20-a-day smoker.
Oh, I can't imagine that.
And I gave up. It wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And I've never looked back. If I see people smoking, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me want to smoke.
Yeah. Oh, now this begs a question I have to ask you. This wasn't on the list, but seeing as you just said that, have you given up drinking because you're pregnant?
No, I don't think so.
Don't think so. This conversation is going to get interesting when the mic turns off. Don't think so, mother. Do you find you've had any difference within your eating habits since you've given up drinking now?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
One, when I was drinking, I always had crisps and nibbles to soak it up. So by the time I had dinner ready, I was full and I'd had enough drink. And in the morning, I would come out and find my dinner in the fridge.
Oh, so you were going to bed and you hadn't even eaten a proper meal?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Those days have gone now.
Yeah.
I eat a decent meal at a reasonable time of an evening. And I feel so much better for it.
Do you find you sleep better now?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's good too.
Yeah. I don't wake up in the night anxious. I don't know if that's the right word. Almost a guilt feeling.
Really?
Yeah.
God, that's not good. That's not good. Do you know what? I just have to say, I'm having this conversation. I'm so happy that you've done this. And even though I see you every day, I never knew how much of an issue this was until the recent year. I never knew. And there's honestly a little bit of a guilt attached to that I've had to work through as well, because the thought that you had been sort of almost silently going through this, but oddly at the same time, you didn't realize you were going through it. It just felt normal, because I don't ever remember you with a hangover. Did you actually get hangovers, or?
I would say at the time, no, I never had hangovers. But now I'm not drinking. I wake up, I feel so different in the morning.
Really?
That I can honestly say, I think every morning I woke up, I had some form of hangover, but it became a way of life.
So it became normal.
It was normal.
Oh,
A fuzzy head in the morning.
yeah,
But now I can get up first thing, raring to go,
yeah.
full of beans.
Full of beans. Because I used to find personally when I used to have a drink, it never took much for me to feel it, and particularly feeling it like the next day. And a lot of the time, even just one glass of wine, I wouldn't necessarily have a hangover, but I wouldn't be able to think properly.
No.
And I'm quite creative, and I get that from you. And my creativity really suffered for it for a couple of days.
I think mine did. I love my hobbies. I love
Yeah.
crafting. And once 4:00 came, I crafted for an hour or two, maybe up to about 6:00. But then the next morning, when I looked to see what I'd done,
Yeah.
it was for the bin.
Oh,
But at the time, crafting, I thought, oh, I'm doing well.
yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it messes with your brain.
It does.
Yeah.
I guess this is why they don't want you to
Yeah.
drink and drive, because you think, oh, I'm a great
No.
driver, and actually, no, you're on the wrong side of the road.
And also, I never went out in the evenings when
Yeah.
I was drinking. But I did such silly things at home. I mean, when it got to the stage where I couldn't craft, I would then start sorting out all my crafting things.
Oh, actually, this is quite funny. Go on then, Mum.
And the next day, when I was crafting, I couldn't find
find
anything. I'd put everything in different places.
Yeah.
And also, I cut my own hair. And after a few drinks, I thought it was a good idea to cut my hair. And I'd wake up in the morning remembering that I'd cut my hair, and I'd touch my head, and I'd have to run to the mirror to see
God.
what mess I'd made.
I really should have been paying more attention to you over the past couple of years.
Luckily, I didn't have bad disasters, but I'd obviously not gone to a hairdresser. You do silly things when you've been drinking,
Yeah.
but they seem normal at the time. And it's quite frightening looking back now.
Yeah. No. I'm so pleased that you've shared this you shared your story with me more fully today, because to be honest, this has been an eye-opening conversation for myself. I knew some of it, but I did not know all of it.
There's one more thing.
Oh, go on then.
It's when you wake up in the morning after a drinking session and you think, I spoke to my son last night. What did I say? What did I promise him?
Oh, God.
And it's not remembering exactly what happened the night before.
Yeah.
And also waking up to a sink of washing up to do.
Oh, I see now that if you want an excuse to stop drinking, there's your excuse. No one likes to wake up to a washing load of stuff to do.
Yeah. But I admitted all my life I loved drinking wine.
Yeah.
It was always on my shopping list. And this was the hardest point of giving up drinking, was going to do your food shopping.
Yeah.
You just couldn't avoid the alcohol.
Yeah. It's everywhere.
I did, after a while, trying to give up after a few days and then going back to it, that I'd go to the local corner shop to buy my milk, so I didn't have to walk down the aisle. That worked for me.
Yeah. It's a process, but you've done it.
Yeah, I have.
Long may it continue.
Yeah,
You have my support either way.
I know it's only 4 months, but
That's milestone.
I would never touch alcohol again.
Yeah. Proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud of you. Is there anything else that you would like to add in to this episode?
There is actually, Jack. Thank you for all your podcasts, which I have listened to over I don't know, the last 18 months. You're the reason I've been able to make this new start in my 75th year. You've taught me.
I knew this was going to be hard. She warned me that she was going to say some nice things at the end, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be hard.
You've taught me that anything in life is possible if you really want it. And you've taught me that I am an individual who can make my own choices. We are controlled, I think, in an unhealthy way by those who make themselves a fortune in providing the food and drink we buy to feed ourselves and our loved ones. I wish I had taken all this on board years ago, but it's never too late.
Nope, you're quite right.
And I'm so happy.
You say that
at the moment.
I've taught you. What was it you said? You said something along the lines of I've taught you of like living your way or something like that. But these podcasts wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my mum teaching me that in the first place.
But then what I've just said to you, what you've taught me, I should have taught you when you was, from the moment you was born.
Yeah, well, divine timing and all of that. Any of my upbringing I wouldn't go back and change, and that's not just because my mum's sitting opposite me right now. I wouldn't change any of it because it's made me who I am, and it's taught me so much. And I do feel like me and my mum have been on a journey, obviously, the whole time I've been born, but particularly in the last few years, we've really woken up spiritually together, and some of our conversations are so deep. I just I don't know. They blow my mind. She's honestly one of the most intuitive people that I know. So thank you so much for coming.
How about that story?
What story?
Of the thimble.
Oh,
can we share this?
Oh, go on then. I'll share that before I ask you my last two questions. So I've been doing, as some of you know, I've been doing this silver meditation, and it's to enhance your intuitive abilities and psychic abilities and things like that. And one of the exercises was you center yourself, so you take a couple of minutes to go into the meditation. And then somebody hands you, in this case my mum, she handed me something that was wrapped up in a load of paper, and she put it in my hands when I said I'm ready. And I didn't touch it or try and feel it or anything like that. And I just straight away said, oh, I kind of want to say it's a thimble. And you were like, yes. And I'm like, what do you mean it is? And we were just so blown away by it. I was absolutely blown away by it. And then my mum saw more stuff. She said, there's somebody sitting next to you. And I'm like, what do you mean? You said, well, it is kind of like a being that's sitting next to you. It's all calm, peaceful, had a very dark kind of face where there was a face, but not necessarily dark face, just darkness. But it sort of had like this, pointed sort of, kind of hat. It was almost, from the sounds of it, it was almost a bit like angelic. And I said, well, how do you feel? And she goes, I feel so white. Good. Oh, was it white cloak?
Yes, it was white cloak.
Oh, and I was just like, oh my God, only this would happen with my mum, seriously.
And then the sun.
Oh, and then the sun shone through the window. It hadn't shone through in about 2 weeks, and it shone through, and this beam of light went exactly onto my mum. I'm like, what is happening? This stuff happens to us, and I just don't know what to do with it. We both left each other like, what is going on? What is life? But yeah, no, that was,
that
good
was
times.
Magical.
It was magic. I can't describe it any other way. Before we completely wrap up, I have 2 questions that I would like to ask. My plan is to ask every guest, but
right.
this is my first guest, so she's going to be thrown with these questions. What does it mean to you to live as a sensual being?
Just living every moment.
Yeah, that sounds
Is
like
that
you.
Good.
And what's your current favourite intention or motto or mantra that you've got at the moment?
Oh, yes. Life is a gift. Definitely.
I agree. I agree with you so much. Well, thank you so much, Mum, for being here.
Thank
like
you,
I said,
Jolene. Oh,
you're
for
so
having
welcome.
me.
Pleasure. And like I say, these podcasts would honestly not happen without my mum. My mum actually listened to the first ever episode before I even launched it live. That's how involved she's been.
Was it May the 13th?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's Dad's anniversary.
Yeah. I remember.
Dad's anniversary.
I remember.
Yes.
Thank you, Jo.
Thank you, Mum.
Lin.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Okay, just because I thought it would be funny, here's one of our outtakes that we did on our first break within this podcast. Enjoy.
I don't know how it's going.
It's good. We're live. We've got like 1,000 people listening already. It's absolutely brilliant.
I want a drink.
I'll get the gin. Fuck it.
Jo, can you pass me the wine bottle, please? Have you got another bottle in the fridge? I'm going to let you down at the end.
I so want to put this on at the end.
What cuts? Oh dear. I just freeze.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. Let me guide you. It's fine.